Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. I got one. Since Escape Pride today, we're going to thank you for my pride. My wonderful pride. Here we go. Thank you for my pride, Spirit. Thank you for my pride. Thank you for my pride, Spirit. Thank you for my pride. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful pride. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful pride. All right, Kathy, come up with a word to be thankful for. Family, here we go. Thank you for my family, Spirit. Thank you for my family. Thank you for my family, Spirit. Thank you for my family. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant family. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant family. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. And thank you for joining us here at Unity Spiritual Center this morning. This is the day that God has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Today, as every Sunday, we have come together in community to celebrate the truth that Spirit is within you, within me, within everyone in this place, and in all places and all people. We also celebrate the truth that our God is love, as expressed in Unity's foundation statement, which you are invited to repeat after me. There is only one more slide. There we go. There is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as my life, God the good, omnipotent. So I invite you now to take a deep breath. Become comfortable and gently release any worries or cares of the day. You have entered our sanctuary so that you can dwell inside your inner sanctuary. And the only thing you need to do in this hour is to open yourself up to the love and goodness of the divine. So I invite you now to take another deep breath and relax into the sacred time and space at Unity Spiritual Center. For almost 8 decades, we at Unity Spiritual Center have celebrated and honored people of every culture, of every creed, of every religion, of every race, of every age, and every lifestyle, knowing that there are many paths to God many faces of God, many names for God, but only one God. Seeing through eyes of oneness and acknowledging our oneness, we know that God indwells all people and is expressed through each of us in unique, special, and individual ways. Unity offers positive, practical, progressive spiritual teachings and tools that honor the universal truth in all religions and respects each individual's right to choose a spiritual path. As you look at the flame of the candle that we light every Sunday, can you see it? All right. Whoop, it's about to go out too. There we go. As you look at that flame, remember that you too carry a divine flame within as an individualized expression of God, and that God does God's work in the world through your hands and movements of the heart. If you're visiting us for the first time, I don't think, well, maybe we have one first-time visitor, and looks like you got the gifts that we like to give out. For many, many years now, we've been giving out those shell lays as a gift, and there's a tag on it that says, just as God has a design for every shell in the sea, God also has a design for your life. We also give out information about Unity in general and Unity Spiritual Center in particular. And we invite you to join us for our potluck following today's service. We don't always have a potluck, but it's the 5th Sunday of the month. So this week we're going to have a potluck in here in the sanctuary and our open mic event, which is really fun, where people get up and share a gift. So we welcome you. We pray that you'll feel nourished by your time here today. And please join us for that if you'd like. And if you or if any of you have questions about Unity or anything else on your mind, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email address and phone number is printed on every printed piece that we do. Our vision here at Unity Spiritual Center, and the opportunity for you and for everyone of us here, is that you discover the power within you to create the life of your dreams. You have peace of mind and deep happiness. You enjoy joyous and loving relationships with yourself, with spirit, and with others. You spend your days doing what you love and feel called to do, and most of all, that you know that your life matters, that you make a difference, and that the world is a better place because you're here. We are all part of the world's story. Indeed, you could say we're all part of God's story, and that's what connects us. We're also all part of Unity Spiritual Center's story, which was started almost 75 years ago, to celebrate the stories of our lives, to learn more about each other and what has stirred us spiritually. We've added this section into the beginning of our service where we can learn about each other and from each other by hearing a story from one of our members. The person who was scheduled to speak today is unable to do it because of a family event, actually a happy family event. Her sister gave birth, and so she is with her sister today, which means that we have an open slot. Is there anyone who just on the spur of the moment feels called to share a 5-minute story? And if not, I do have contingency plans, but I thought I would offer the invitation to you. No takers, huh? All right. Well, what I decided I'm going to do, because this is going to happen, we just unrolled this about a month ago, and there are going to be times when things like this happen, when somebody can't make it at the last minute. So I'm always going to see if the Spirit moves someone from the audience, but if not, I came prepared with this wonderful book called Soul Food, and this actually has teaching stories. So I'm going to read a teaching story that comes from the Hindu tradition. But if you listen carefully, you will find that there is a big unity message contained in this Hindu teaching story. There was a man who wandered throughout the world seeking his deepest desire. He wandered from one city to another, from one realm to another, looking for fulfillment and happiness, but in all his wanderings never came to it. Finally, one day, tired from his search, he sat underneath a great tree at the foot of a mountain. What he did not know is that this was the great wish-fulfilling tree. Whatever one wishes for when seated underneath it immediately comes true. As he rested in his weariness, he thought to himself, "What a beautiful spot this is. I wish I had a home here." And instantly before his eyes, a beautiful home appeared. Surprised and delighted, he thought further, if only I had a partner to be here with me, and then my happiness would be complete. And in a moment, a beautiful woman appeared, calling him husband and beckoning to him. Well, first, I am hungry, he thought. I wish there was food to eat. Immediately, a banquet table appeared, covered with every wonderful kind of food and drink, main courses, pastries, sweets of every variety. The man sat down and began to feast himself hungrily, but partway through the meal, still feeling tired, he thought, I wish I had a servant to serve me the rest of this food. And sure enough, a manservant appeared. Finishing the meal, the man sat back down to lean against this wonderful tree and began to reflect. How amazing it is that everything I've wished for has come true. There is some mysterious force about this tree. I wonder if there is a demon who lives in it. And sure enough, no sooner than he had thought this than a great demon appeared. Oh my, he thought, this demon could possibly eat me up. And that is just what it did. Oh, so a Hindu. Yeah. It's okay. It's all right. Everybody breathe. Be careful what you wish for. Thank you, Ethel. It's a fundamental unity teaching that what you focus on expands, that we create our reality by what we think and what we choose to believe and what we put our feelings behind. So that was my purpose in sharing it with you, not to scare you. So there's going to be no more talks about people being eaten up today. But as you can see, it's infinitely more enjoyable to have a real-life person tell their story than me read, and since you get enough of my voice anyway, I'm really hoping that you all will consider this invitation to share a 5-minute story. I am happy to work with you in terms of finding a Sunday that works well for you, and what I'm looking for, and what I think we're all hungering for, is just, a 5-minute story about a moment of spiritual growth that you experienced, a time when, a spiritual principle really rang true for you, where you really understood it in a way you never understood it before, what unity in general, what its teachings have meant to you, what Unity Spiritual Center has meant to you. So there's many different ways you can go. Hey, Terry, awesome. Are you wanting to talk? Let's bring her up. Terry Wade.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Terry Wade, and when you just spoke, Reverend Maggie, it reminded me. So today's actually the 12-year anniversary of my first love's death, and so he was murdered when I was 19, and so it just, I didn't really grow up spiritual at all. Like, my mom's a hippie, and so she's just like peace and love and, sunshine and Mother Nature. So that's kind of what I grew up with, but I didn't know there was like a bigger force. that loves us and that protects all of us. And so it was after he had died, so it was today exactly 12 years ago. I got a call from his aunt super late at night, and so I was like, oh, I'll check it in the morning. And then I checked it, and I couldn't really understand it, and I was driving to Santa Cruz to go visit my uncle with my mom, and when I finally checked the message, I finally called her back, and she told me, he had been shot. And then I was like, oh my gosh, is he okay? I'm going to come right now. She's like, no, he's dead. So I was like, wow, so at the time I just fell to my knees and I just started screaming and I started crying and he was 23 years old, and so I was like, why would this happen? He's so young and full of life. And so I didn't get it. I was like, why, why are we here? Why do we have to experience this pain? So it didn't make sense to me. And I think that was my journey in finding what's out there? What's the purpose of all of this? In that time, it was about a couple weeks of, just me being really sad and trying to figure out what's going on. And then I kind of just said, I wish you could hug me. And so I felt this presence of a really big, warm, comforting hug. And so I just closed my eyes and I just sat in that comfort. And I realized, there's something so much bigger out there, than just our bodies and our flesh and the day-to-day sunrise, sundown, and then we die and go into the dirt and, that's it. And that's kind of what I thought before. And so feeling his spirit just really surrounds me and comfort me in the moments where I was really sad and confused and lost. That's kind of what opened my eyes to something bigger than just this fleshly material world that we're in today. Sorry. And so from there, I opened my eyes up to, the spirit world, I guess, and then realized that there's somebody, there's a bigger purpose. I didn't really know what that purpose was, but there was something more than this material world. And so I actually started going to Christian church in 2010, and then I just got moved by the love of Jesus. I just was like, wow, this is it. There's a God that loves us. And then when I started diving into the Bible, I'm like, some of the things just really didn't relate to my heart, like the guilt and the shame and fearing God. And I think God's a God of love. And so I'm like, what's there to fear when, if it's just all about love? So, I still went to church because I resonated with a lot of it. And then just a couple months ago, I went to a Course in Miracles conference in Boston. And I went because I read this book, The Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard, which is an amazing book. So I just wanted to watch him speak. So I looked up where he would be speaking next, and he was going to be speaking at the Course in Miracles conference. So I went to the Course in Miracles conference, and I figured since I'm going, maybe I'll get the book, so I can learn more about what this is all about that he's talking about. So I got the book, and I ended up really loving it. It all talks about it. So it's a foundation for inner peace, and it talks about, just we're not our body, that we are spirit, and that we are love, and that we have God's presence in us, and we have this light, like the candle here. So I love when we talk about the candle, that we all have that light in us, and we're here to just spread the light and the joy and the love to our community. And so, so I don't know if it's been 5 minutes, but so I'm really grateful to be here. This is probably my third time here, so I've been here for about a month. And I love the foundation of unity. I love all the principles here, and I'm just really grateful to be around all of you guys who just want to help be the light for the world, because that's what we need. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Terry. We are so delighted you have found us, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for some sharing from the heart that touches us, where we can get to know somebody better. So I'm so glad that you shared that with us, and after only 3 times here, have felt safe enough in our community that you wanted to do that, because that's exactly what we're trying to create. A community where people do feel safe, where they know that they are loved and honored and can be vulnerable. Because that's what we need to do, and that's what I talked about a little bit last week, is that we need to be real with each other. So just since I'm on the subject, an idea that I have for the fifth Sundays, I didn't feel I had enough time to present it for this Sunday, but an idea that I have for our fifth Sundays is to basically have a story sharing circle where I will give you a theme ahead of time, like love, forgiveness, I'll think of different ones. And then you all can be thinking of a story from your own life that might have something to do with that theme and be prepared to share it in a circle. We'll set up the chairs in a circle on those days. Does that sound like something you'd like to do? Interesting? All right. Next fifth Sunday, we'll plan on it. And thank you again, Terry, because it's so moving to hear from people from our community. And as I said, just let me know. I'm hoping I can do this every single week, have somebody share their story. So if you haven't done it already, please do turn off your cell phones and any other electronic devices. And Michael is going to lead us through a hymn that we actually co-wrote.
Yeah. We've got a lovely little piece here that'll all come back to your brain in a second. A smiling face, a warm embrace, we welcome you. Safe in this place, you will find grace, we welcome you. Let your heart and mind reflect, take this moment to connect. This is what we know to be true. We're glad you're here and we welcome you. A smiling face, a warm embrace, we welcome you. Safe in this place, you will find grace, we welcome you. Let your heart and mind reflect, take this moment to connect. This is what we know to be true. We're glad you're here and we welcome you. One more time. A smiling face, a warm embrace, we welcome you. Safe in this place, you will find grace, we welcome you. Let your heart and mind reflect, take this moment to connect. This is what we know to be true. We're glad you're here and we welcome you.
Actually, we didn't co-wrote that. That was all yours, right?
That one, but the next one.
The next one we co-wrote, but that
Yes.
was all Michael. So let's give him another round of applause. So as we continue to get comfortable in our seats and relax even more deeply into this time of worship, prayer, and meditation, let's open our hearts to receive the message of today's daily word. The word for the day is healing. Is there anyone who would like to read about healing today? Vera. The daily word will be read by Vera DeMarco.
Healing. The power of divine life restores me to wholeness. John's Gospel tells the story of Jesus' healing encounter at the pool of Bethesda with a man who had been ill for 38 years. People believed that at certain times, after an angel stirred the waters of the pool, the first person to enter the water would be healed. When Jesus asked the man if he wanted to be made well, the man explained that he had no one to help him to the pool when the water was stirred up. Hearing this, Jesus said, "Stand up, take your mat and walk." The man shifted his belief in his limitation and freed himself. His faith in the power of the divine life was quickened, and he was restored to wholeness. Like the man at the pool, I let go of all belief in illness. I experienced true vitality. The power of divine life restores me to wholeness. Jesus said to him, "Stand up, take your mat, walk." John 5:8.
Thank you, Vera. Unity Spiritual Center is a center of prayer and healing. As I think pretty much all of you know, we have a community prayer chest on the table in the back, and you're always welcome to place a prayer request in the box or to call or email and leave a prayer request that I will place in the box. Let's take a moment now, knowing that there are prayer requests from members of our spiritual family here. Let's just hold them in our heart. And just know that for each person represented, divine love is unfolding them. And that divine order is taking place in their lives. The prayer requests that are placed in the box are prayed on by me and our USC prayer team for 30 days, and then we forward them to Silent Unity, where they're prayed on for an additional 30 days. The prayer request forms are printed on green paper, and you're always invited to place one in the chest, as I said before, or to light an LED candle and place it in the candle rack if you'd like a visual representation of your prayer. But we also have a time to make our prayers audible, and this is that time to offer your prayer needs to your spiritual family here so that we can support you and stand with you. So after we sing the beginning of this song, which Michael will lead us through, you are invited to speak your prayer request aloud, and we'll answer each prayer request by singing "Your Prayer is My Prayer Too."
We are connected by the heart. Where do you end? Where do I start? Whatever you feel, I feel too. You're a part of me. I'm a part of you. Your prayer is my prayer too. 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 Your prayer is my prayer too.
I think you will.
Your prayer is my prayer too. 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 Your prayer is my prayer too.
We also have a space in our service where you're invited to share the things that you're grateful for, your blessings, anything you're thankful for. This is your time to speak aloud, anything for which you wish to give gratitude. So sweet. Yeah.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
We give thanks for this opportunity to bless and to be blessed in spirit. We give thanks for the knowledge that when we ask, it will be given to us. When we seek, we will find. When we knock, the door will be open to us. We give thanks for the feelings of peace and comfort that fill our hearts and minds right now. We give thanks for the privilege of praying for others in our community, in our nation, and around the globe. And we affirm that always and in all ways, no matter what appearances are, divine love and divine order is everywhere present. And so it is. Amen.
We are bound today by the narrative we call news. It is time for those dark streams to cease. All the mothers know that it's time for those dark streams to cease. Let's turn the page. There's a reason why those who stand for hope and change are embraced by the world famished for so long. True accounts of light surround us, and we can create more. Let's turn the page. Let's turn the page with a new story. Together we can rewrite the news. Let's turn the page with a new story. Let's turn the page. Let's turn the page with a new story. Together we can rewrite the news. Let's turn the page with a new story. Let's turn the page. Let's turn the page with a new story. Together we can rewrite the news. Let's turn the page with a new story. Let's turn the page. For my daughter, for all of our world's children, let's change the news from old to new. Thank you, Creator, for the ability we have each day to begin anew. Let's turn the page with a new story. Together we can rewrite the news. Let's turn the page with a new story. Let's turn the page. Let's turn the page with a new story. Together we can rewrite the news. Let's turn the page with a new story. Let's turn the page.
Was so fun. That was the song that we co-wrote, and I thought, you're so creative, Michael, and you're able to, write songs on a dime. So maybe we'll do more of that, because I sure got a kick out of that. Thank you. And it was perfect for what we're talking about today, which is creating a new story. We've been talking about stories a lot. It seems to be something that's in the zeitgeist, both here at Unity Spiritual Center and also at the national level, because as those of you who were here last week know, I attended the Unity International Unity Conference a couple of weeks ago, and that was their theme. Their theme was One Humanity, Many Stories. So it was really fun to see how we were dovetailing, group mind here, dovetailing with what the larger Unity is doing. And this, as I mentioned last week, has been a concept that I have loved for a very long time. And apologies for being repetitive for those who were here last week. But I have loved this idea of a new story ever since I think I first heard Louise Hay use the term, and also Jean Houston use the term back in the last century. I heard it like 1995, 99. And I loved it so much that I claimed the new story as my URL. So I actually have a website that's directed to the new story. And my personal email address remains Maggie@thenewstory.com. I've had that address for almost 20 years now, because I find it so compelling. There's something about this metaphor that I think is so helpful to all of us in terms of living out the principles that we learn here at Unity, but sometimes may feel stuck with. Like, how do we create new chapters in our lives? But see, there's an example, new chapters. It's this idea of turning a page. We can do that at any time. Now, I find it interesting that since I've been working with this idea of a new story, I've seen a lot of people do the same thing. You know, you hear this phrase a lot, and I think it's interesting as we kind of track throughout history how people are embracing an idea of creating something new. How many people watched the Democratic candidate debates this week? About half of us, maybe more. And of course, all of those candidates were talking about some kind of new story, weren't they? About creating a new narrative. You know, it's going to be interesting because when I wrote that poem that Michael just beautifully set to music, it was back when we had another president. And things still seem dire because of what was happening in the world. And I think with increasing years, the years since then, we're really feeling that now, aren't we? Like, we need to create a new story if we want to have a future, if we want to survive on the planet. So it'll be very interesting, I think, to see which candidate out of 20 emerges to the top to become the final presidential candidate, because all of them, from what I heard, had pretty compelling stories to share. So I think that'll be interesting. But what I wanted to talk about is our own lives, because of course this idea of new story works on our individual level. And the most important thing I want to say about that is often we think we need to make a big change on a significant day, right? Like our birthday. Like, starting when I turn X, years of age, I will do this. Or we'll do it on New Year's Day. Okay, from here on out, I'm only going to do this. The thing about a new story is that it doesn't have to be a significant day, because the truth is, whatever day you decide on is the significant day. So keep that in mind as you start thinking and reflecting about what you might want to make new in your own life, is that today could be the start of your new story. And we're also moving toward a time when our country started a new story. The 4th of July is going to be on, Thursday? That was a day when our country started a new story. But again, we can create a new story for ourselves and for our country on any given day. And that's the beauty of it. So I found this quote. And I have a lot of them because I've loved this idea so much. And it really speaks well, I think, to this idea of personally living a new story. It's from Tony Robbins, who's the motivational speaker I'm sure you all know of. And he likes to ask his seminar attendees, what is the story of your life? Is it a soap opera? We all know people whose lives are soap operas, don't we? A romance? A comedy? An action adventure? What do you want it to be? So it's kind of a fun question, isn't it? Like, if you had to assign your life to a particular genre, well, what would your story be right now? And then, more importantly, what would you like it to be? So I want you to start thinking about that right now. What do you want your story, the story of your life, to be about? Overcoming great obstacles? Becoming truly yourself in the face of non-acceptance? We see that in Pride, don't we? I mean, Unity, I got this at the convention. Unity has made a rainbow flag for its churches to display during Pride Week. But, I know that most of you, as me and my husband, remember a time when it wasn't so welcome and accepting to say that you were gay. We've come an amazing way, a long way in 10, 15, 20 years. in terms of really honoring everybody's right to love who they choose. So we've seen new stories occur even as we've been alive. Here's a couple other quotes I want to leave you with as you start thinking about this idea. One is from the Bible, Psalm chapter 90, verse 9, which says, "We spend our years as a tale that is told." We spend our years as a tale that is told. And then another quotation from Novalis, "The history of every individual man or woman should be a Bible." That's particularly provocative, I think, right? Are you living your life as a Bible? I'm not sure I do. But my husband would probably say, no. Not when you're on me to get something done. So the idea is, whether you choose to make your story a Bible or a Greek tragedy, the important thing to remember is that it's your choice, and that you make that choice every moment of your day, and that at any given moment you can change to have something new, to create something new, a new story. Business leader Stephen Covey said, "We always have the choice to live out of our imagination, not our history." Such an important idea. Because so often we have those stories, those old stories that we carry with us, right? Of why we can't do something or why we weren't able to become something. You know, it's something that can really cripple our opportunities and our expression of the vital life force that's within each one of us, because how tightly we hang on to those old stories. So to help us individually and collectively to start thinking about what the elements are of a news story that we can create at any given time, I wanted to work with an acronym, and I'm going to use the first three letters in news story. I actually did an entire acronym, news story, 8, but I'm just going to leave it at 3 for today. If there's a popular demand, I'll give you the other 5. But I think these 3 that I've picked out are pretty important. And the first thing to remember is that a news story is now focused. It's focused in the now. It happens in the present. Because how many of us, and I'll raise my hand, have said, okay, I'm going to go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail, and don't do it. Am I the only one, really? or put in your own personal example, right? Hasn't everybody made some kind of resolution and then not kept it? It's a pretty, common part of the human experience. And the thing about creating a new story is that it does have to happen in the now. It matters what you do now, not what you say you're going to do, not what you'd like to do. It really hinges on the actions that you take now. So as you start to think about what you want your new story to be, remember that you can start it now. You don't have to wait. Secondly, a new story is evolving. It's always evolving, and that's okay, because sometimes we think that, our news story has to come together like that. Like we think about it, we plan it, and then we're going to step into it fully formed. And for most people, that's not the case. And I'll use myself as an example. Back in the day, back 20 years ago, it was actually the year 2000, 19 years ago, when I grabbed that URL called The News Story and went down to City Hall to register my business as The News Story. I was thinking that I would have a coaching and consulting business. I was a writer, well, I still am a writer, but building on my writing ability and my editorial experience. I was a magazine editor in my former life. So that's what I thought my news story was going to be when I quit my 9-to-5 job to start my own business. And then, well, obviously, as you know, things took a different turn, but it took a different turn through the years. I took spiritual direction training down at Mercy Center, and I studied 3 years, for 3 years, to become a spiritual director. I took coaching training to become a life purpose coach, and started giving workshops, started facilitating conferences and retreats, and found I loved that. And I don't think I've told this story, but I will tell it to you today. As you know, I was working as the business manager of this church. Was hired for that job back in 2005. Was pretty dang sure I did not want to be a minister, because I worked for 2 ministers here, and I would hear their stories, and I would think, wow, why would anybody want to be a minister? But I started feeling the call. I started feeling like, I think this would be an amazing thing to be able to do. And I was thinking more in terms of being an efficient. So at the time I started seminary, I was thinking, well, I'd love to marry people, and I'd love to bury people. And that was, to be with people during the most important and significant events of their lives. And so that was my initial call into ministry. But then, of course, this church was in need, and the board asked me to step in, and I discovered congregational ministry. And I'm now in my 10th year being your minister. And, it's been such an interesting journey, and I'm in a period of transition now, too, because my last 3 books have been on creating and creativity as a spiritual practice. And that is my passion. That is my passion, is helping people to discover how their innate creativity can be a direct conduit to the divine. So I'm seeing my evolution and my new story evolving as we speak. So keep that in mind, that chances are good that your new story will evolve with time, and that's all right. That's part of it, because there's going to be a day, and I think some of us can start to look back at it already, and if not, we will be able to look back and see how every part of our life made a difference, how it all worked together to create our new story. And finally, the third indicator that I want to leave you with, the W in the acronym NEW, is walking in the dignity of the highest truth I know. Now, that's a phrase that I got from Alan Cohen, who's an author. Many of you may have read his books. I believe he's also a student of A Course in Miracles and has written about them. But isn't that a great phrase? Walk in the dignity of the highest truth you know. Now, I love that phrase because it implies that potentially, as you evolve, there are going to be higher and higher truths that you know. But the call is, right now, today, to walk in the dignity of the highest truth you know. Because if you want a new story for your life, that's it. If you walk in the dignity of the highest truth you know, you are creating a new story. And part of walking in the dignity of the highest truth you know is trusting in the process. Trusting that we are growing towards someone or towards something. We may not be able to see it. Martin Luther King Jr. had that wonderful phrase, which is one of my favorite quotations, is that, faith is taking the next step up in the staircase. He said it more eloquently than I just did, but it's that idea that we can't always see the path before us. We can't always see the whole staircase. But if we can take the next step up, then it will become clear. And I wanted to give you the example of the artist, Andy Goldsworthy. How many people know? Yeah, Ethel does. So Andy Goldsworthy is this really interesting artist who, if you find yourself intrigued by what I'm about to say, you should check him out. He's pretty young. I think he's still in his, late 50s, so he'll probably be around for a while. But he's a British environmental artist, a sculptor of sorts. But what he does is he uses natural materials. So if you go online to look him up, you'll see these intricate mandalas that are created out of leaves that have changed color. Or he'll make ice sculptures or twigs. I think, don't we have an Andy Goldsworthy piece that's in the Presidio, right? Excellent. Thank you, Docent Ethel. I appreciate that, because that's right. And there's the docent in training. But the crack at the De Young, isn't that's an Andy Goldsworthy. So if you've ever gone to the De Young and you've seen that crack in the concrete, that was put there on purpose. That wasn't just poor planning. That's an Andy Goldsworthy installation. And they're interesting. They're intriguing because they take you by surprise. So there's a documentary about his work that you probably could find on Netflix. And in it, the name of the documentary is Rivers and Tides. And in it, you see him undergoing this process again and again. He'll do something and then it'll topple or it'll fall, and he just has to keep going. And there was a scene where a giant egg that he constructs out of slabs of slate. So you can kind of picture it in your mind, right, what that might look like. It collapses for the 4th time. And his reaction to that is inspiring. He says, each time that happens, each time it collapses, I learn more about the spirit of the stone. I got goosebumps. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, what a philosophy to hold. And we can hold that same philosophy toward our own lives and toward our own evolution, toward the new story that we want to live. Because each time we try something and maybe it's not quite right, we learn a little bit more about the spirit of the endeavor and about our own spirit. So as you create or recreate your new story, you too can use the letters in that acronym of new to remember that a new story is now focused, it's evolving, and it's walking in the dignity of the highest truth you know. Again, I've got 5 more I could give you, and I may do that later on, but I think those 3 are a pretty good start to deciding today to be who it is that you want to be, to turn the page, as the song said, to create your new story. So may we all write our own story. May we be our own hero. May we speak our own truth and remember the importance of our stories as we share them. And may we live our own dream. May we all be all the fullness of who we were created to be. And so it is. Thank you, God. So I'm going to give you a little more time with this idea in our meditation. So, listening to the beautiful strains of that music, begin now to just relax into your seat. Feel the back of your chair, holding your back upright. You don't have to do anything. You're just being held. And begin to go to that place that's your inner sanctuary. Some of you may have an actual building in your mind's eye that you like to return to. For others, it may be a color, a feeling, an entity that you like to return to. But begin to turn your attention inward. listen, to find the new story that may be stirring within you. And begin by reflecting on your values. What is it that is the most important to you in life? What do you value? As you think about our country heading toward a new story, what do you want to see happen in our country? Where does your sense of right and wrong come from? Spend the next few moments thinking about your values and what it is that you would take a stand for. Now, these values make up part of the core of who you are. And if you're being true to your values, these core beliefs can drive your behavior and be a big part of your new story. So having identified some of your values, also think about what is it that you love? What is that you love and want to protect? See protected. And think about how your values, how the things that you love, the things that you want to protect, think about how those could become part of your day-to-day life to a greater and more fulfilling degree. And think of your motivations. What motivates you? What drives your behavior? What catches your interest or has caught your interest in the past? What propels you to action? There's information there too. And think about your personality and your character traits. We all are spiritual beings in a human wrapping, but in this human wrapping, we have particular personalities. So imagine what's left when all the barriers are removed and all the fears have gone away. Think of yourself at your fullest potential. What traits do you have? And think about your energy. Are you laid back and calm? Are you more energetic? Are you a go-getter? Are you creative? Practical? What sorts of things do you admire or appreciate? What do you like? And imagine something now that makes you feel happy. What is it? What are the things that make you happy or that you enjoy doing? Think about that full expression of that self that is you, when all barriers and fears have been removed. And now I want to ask you to create one final picture in your mind imagine in as much detail as you can the person you want to be. Imagine your ideal self, the ideal self of your new story. How would this person behave? What does this person value? What do they do with their time, with their money, their resources? What motivates this ideal self? Just imagine all the details of the person you most want to be. And know that the image in your mind right now of this ideal person is you. This is your authentic self. This is who you are at the core. Beneath all of life getting to you and getting in the way, this is you. So spend a few moments now with your image of your authentic self living a new story. The new story of your creating, of your creation. Remember that now that you've gotten a better grasp of who that is and who you want to be and what you want to be doing, you can carry that image and that feeling of being your authentic self with you. And you can allow that true essence of you to shine through in everyday life, beginning today. Beginning right now. Allow that wonderful image to shine forth and to create your new story. So knowing that you can return to this meditation at any time you choose. At any time you choose. And resolving to allow some expression of that ideal shine forth from you today. Begin now to return to our outer sanctuary. Perhaps taking another deep breath, or moving your fingers or your feet. And when you're ready, coming back to waking consciousness and opening your eyes. Was that good? Yeah. So I'm so glad to hear that. And I look forward to meeting all of your new your new authentic selves as we work together to bring more and more of them forward into our communities and world. So I'm about to read something, which I read every Sunday. And you know what? I know that you want to hear other voices than mine. So I am going to put an invitation out there. I'm looking for platform assistants. I'm going to be going on vacation at the end of this month. I'll be having 2 guest speakers. One is Jerry, who's not really a guest. Actually, Marcy's doing the other Sunday. She's not really a guest either. But they're going to need backup. They're going to need somebody to read what I'm about to read. So as part of your new story, will you just hold this invitation as being open to you? And if you'd like to be a platform assistant and read it, because literally it's a script and everybody can read here, just to give your presence and your energy to our sanctuary, particularly on the days when I'm not here. I would welcome that. So if you'd like to be a platform assistant, we'll have a sign-up sheet. There's not one right now, but tell me if you're interested, and we'll get one out next week, because I'd love to have platform assistants. I'd love to see you up here. In the meantime, here at Unity Spiritual Center, we are an ocean of love. Here at Unity Spiritual Center, we have an inspiring vision, an exciting mission, and compelling values by which we strive to live. Please join with me in saying them aloud. Our vision is centered in God. We co-create a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening. Our mission is we are a creative, joy-filled spiritual community dedicated to healing, inspiring, and transforming the lives of all people through prayer, education, and love. And our values are, we are spirit-led, generous with resources, inclusive, joyously creative, and guided by integrity. And in this space, feeling inspired by our vision, mission, and values, feeling enriched by what we've experienced here today, and what we're about to experience in fellowship with one another. Let us take time now to be a channel for enrichment through our generous tithes and love offerings. Practicing the principle of tithing ourselves as a spiritual community, we are pleased to tithe 10% of the offering collected today to a special organization or person designated by the minister. I'll take ideas. Is there a particular? Yes, Michael.
YOLO Food Bank.
All right, we will do that. We are going to donate, unless there's an objection, we will donate a 10% of the offering collected to the YOLO Food Bank, which is being worked by Zane Hatfield, right?
He's the project manager.
Wonderful. We'd be happy to do that.
He'll track where it goes.
Excellent. So let's take a moment now to bless our tithes and love offerings, placing them in our hands or next to our hearts. Hands or next to our hearts as we say our offertory prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God.
Okay. This is a story song. And I have my tongue firmly planted in my cheek. And the only reason I'm saying that is because my high school band director, who is still alive, tracks my so-called career. And he asked me about this song. He goes, "Were you serious about that?" But he's a Presbyterian. I know. I used to be one. And he just can't handle that. It's like, you can't be serious. Okay. Well, just yesterday morning, out the corner of my eye, I swear I saw God, but he must have slipped on by. As I sat down to breakfast and buttered up my toast, the reflection in the toaster might have been the Holy Ghost. I saw God. He saw me. He saw my sons, my daughter, my wife, and family. I was not surprised. Neither was he. As a matter of fact, I'm glad he wasn't a she. Well, I've always heard sometimes you see just what you want to see. That's true. And if we are the face of God, I think I should hopefully see a guy looking back at me. And I know it's Pride Week, so I wouldn't matter if it was something else. I wear a dress very well. Here we go. Well, the rest of my day went on like that, just like a little race. I saw God driving in front of me with a smile upon his face. Right behind was God as well in a tiny roadster coupe. All of us heading off to work as if we were a group. Now, how do you honk at the Lord, especially if he's got his Bluetooth on and yakking away? Somebody's getting their prayers answered somewhere. I saw God. You can sing if you want. He saw me. He saw my sons, my daughter, my wife, and family. I was not surprised. Neither was he. As a matter of fact, I'm glad he wasn't a she. I could swear his smile looked a lot like mine. He was just a little bit bald and head had a little shine. Oh, he must have been about 5'10" and wearing Levi jeans. And I bet you are starting to get what this whole song means. I saw God. He saw me. He saw my sons, my daughter, my wife, and family. I was not surprised, and neither was he. As a matter of fact, I'm glad he wasn't a she. Well, I know he must have been feeling good, because I felt fine myself. Everything was organized and lined up on the shelf. I thought there'd be a price to pay, and I checked out the tags. The entire world was mine to have if I supplied the bags. Well, it used to be paper or plastic, but I never remember to bring the bags I do have in. They're always in the back of the Prius, and I have to go buy one. I saw God. He saw me. He saw my sons, my daughter, my wife, and family. I was not surprised. Neither was he. As a matter of fact, I'm glad he wasn't a she. Okay. As the minutes turned into hours and all my work was done, God followed me back home before the setting sun. Dinner was served and the food was blessed and a prayer was said as I went to bed, and you might have guessed what happened. Oh, I saw God. He saw me. Saw my sons, my daughter, my wife, and family. I was not surprised. Neither was he. As a matter of fact, I'm glad he wasn't a she. Well, I only wrote that because it rhymes. And I like a good-looking God just as much as the next guy, and he might as well look like me.
And now you know why I call Michael Hatfield a one-man party.
Living God, bless the acts of our hands, our minds, our hearts. May everything offered here at Unity Spiritual Center be a lesson of all that is good within us. Grant us the courage to patiently listen for the stirring of your presence. Enliven our spirits with humor. Fill us with reverence for one another and gratitude for our diversity. May unity, beauty, and truth be the fruit of all we do. And so it is. Amen.
So I want to thank those who are giving volunteer service today, including our ushers, Shirley Harris and Valerie Hatfield. I want to thank Terry Wade for giving her story. And also want to thank Sylvia Grady for being with the kids. We'll bring her in a moment. In the meantime, there are a couple announcements that I want to make. Today, as I mentioned earlier, is our open mic and potluck. It's really fun. If you haven't come, do come check us out, because what we do, actually what Rosa and Teresa and Candy, I think, have left to do, they're going to be moving in a table at the front of the sanctuary here and put out wonderful potluck items. And then we're going to have our open mic where literally you're invited to share what you'd like to with your community. So in the past, we've had jokes, we've had a cappella singing, we've had somebody read from a novel in progress, we've had somebody share a favorite poem. You know, something you can do if you're not prepared. You can, get out your smartphone and Google something. We had a little boy show us that he could hop up and down on one foot. So anything goes. It's just a really fun time to be together and to see some of the talents of each other. So I hope you'll join us for that. That's immediately following our service. Next Tuesday is going to be the last day you can join our book study. We started a book study last Tuesday. We always open it up for 2 Tuesdays. And then we close the circle just to retain the intimacy. So we are studying for the next 5 weeks, it'll be now, Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani, which was a best-selling book about somebody's near-death experience. Wayne Dyer loved the book so much, he actually wrote the introduction and was a champion of it to make sure it would get out to a bigger public. So that's our book, and we are happy to have you join us. Again, it's Tuesday nights, the next 5 Tuesday nights from 6:30 to 8:30. And you are welcome to join us. Next Sunday, we're going to have our first Sunday Women's Sacred Circle. There's a sign-up sheet in the back. Again, please join us, even if you haven't done it before. We're working throughout the year on creating a personal book or journal, maybe is a better word for it, of just spiritual things that uplift us. So whether it's a song, a poem, a work of art, anything that just makes you feel positive and uplifted, we're putting them into our own personal books, and that's a great, fun thing to be working on in community, because we also get to learn from each other what inspires them. We have released our birdhouses for our 4th annual community art event. There is one left. There's one left. So if you haven't gotten your birdhouse to decorate, come see me. I will give it to you. And what the deal is on that, if you haven't done it before, is that I give you a reflection question. The question for this year is, if God is the castle in which you live, what does your castle look like? Because the birdhouse is shaped like a castle. And it's so much fun to see what everybody comes up with. It's always different. And then the ask is to give it to us for silent auction to use as a fundraiser when you bring it back in September. So you've got all summer to work on it. It's a lot of fun. And I hope somebody will take that last birdhouse. And we're also trying to get people to sign up for an automatic monthly tithe. I'm really happy that a couple of you have. This really helps us during periods like the summer when people travel, just to know that a particular amount of revenue is going to be coming in every month. There is information in the back about that. You can make your automatic credit card or debit card tithe for any amount you choose. You know, we've got one for $10 a month. We've got 2 actually now, and you can stop it at any time. But we hope that you will prayerfully consider doing that. And with that, we will bring in the kids or the kid.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Hi.
We have one shy one here today. Happens to be my granddaughter, So being the 5th Sunday of the month today, she made pizza for our potluck today.
Whee! Thank you.
So we made cheese and pepperoni pizza. Come and enjoy.
Thank you. Let's bless Deacon and all the kids in absentia. Okay.
We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the presence of God in you, empowering you to do great things. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over